Welcome back, Ink Drinkers, for episode 2 of Crooked Kingdom, covering sections 3 and 4, which covers chapters 11 through
23.
23. When we last left our gang, we finally have Inej back.
Yes, thank goodness.
We have kind of been tricked by Van Eck.
Mhm.
He has called the Stodwatch and said that Kaz kidnapped Wylan.
Yep.
And so the Stodwatch is after them. They've all kind of gone their separate ways,
Mhm.
but also the Shoe attacked
Yes.
a couple of the pleasure houses and gambling dens in the Barrel
Mhm.
and have taken Grisha. So they are hunting Grisha.
Yes.
One of them scented Nina and Jesper, and Nina barely escaped.
Mhm.
And we're wondering how they're getting back together, where they're getting back together. And that brings us to part 3, which is called Brick by Brick, which seems quite ominous.
Yes, and it's something Kaz says often.
Mm-hmm.
He sure does. We start off part 3 in Inej's perspective, seeing Ketterdam, the city, through her eyes. She doesn't like being down in the crowded area where she's at. She usually likes being up on the rooftops. And she's taking, you're getting her descriptions of the different areas, which was really cool to kind of see from her, bird's eye view. And everything, but they're making their way through and end up taking shelter in a storehouse in the warehouse district. And Kaz confronts her a little bit. You had mentioned, you're like, I was wondering, like, what is it that she said to Van Eck as she was walking away from him? And he asks her, like, what did you say?
Thanks, Cass. I needed to know.
And she tells him, she said, you will see me once more, but only once. So a little bit of a threat there. And coming from Inej, I'm scared.
I would be
terrified. Like, if that woman said those words to me, I'm done. Completely done.
If it was me, I'd be terrified. The fact that it's Van Eck, I'm pumped.
Yes.
Okay, that man deserves whatever she's got coming for him.
If I were Van Eck, I'd be changing my identity and going into hiding.
But he's too pompous for that, let's be honest.
Yes.
He thinks he's too smart.
Yes. And so you kind of see the lasting trauma that Van Eck has had on her through this conversation, and her doubt of her importance to Kaz, but she's not fully addressing it. You're just kind of seeing her internalizing it. And we get the crew back together. Yes. Thank goodness we're all together, and they kind of piece together all the updates. Like, I saw this, putting it all together from the explosions. So there were 2 Shoe that had the moth-like metal wings. There's a man and woman, and they were described as not normal, nearly impervious to bullets, using nets to catch different Grisha, because Nina was susceptible to it. Thank you. But she was like, they're definitely not on Parem, and they're not Grisha themselves. Like, she could just tell, like, they weren't using powers. They can smell other Grisha because she clearly sniffed the air and looked right at us and could tell that we had Grisha abilities. And Jesper added in there, and there's like this metal plating beneath their skin. And as they're describing all of this, like, Kue has like a discernible reaction to it. And he's like, that's the core good. An indestructible soldier that will outlive their creators, that the Shoe have been using Grisha in order to make. So now we've kind of got this answer to who these people are. We don't know how many of them there are. We don't know how to bring about their demise or anything like that. But we do know now what force is coming against us.
I wanted to touch a little bit on the reunion.
Yes.
Everyone is so excited to see her back. Nina, like, flings herself on her, and, like, even Matthias, like, is super excited. And Nina offers up her chocolate biscuits. Like, she
She's
was
like, have all of
so,
them.
so defensive when they tried to give them to Alice,
Alice.
but she's like, here, take them.
Yep.
And so just to like have that little moment of joy
Mm-hmm.
was so just wonderful.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we go through that. Um, Kue knows about these
Mm-hmm.
or like characters, these soldiers, and so they're like, okay, we now know
Mm-hmm.
that they're after Grisha,
Mm-hmm.
and the Grisha and Ketterdam are super close knit, and Nina's like, we have to do something about
Mm-hmm.
this. And Jesper snaps at her. He gets aggressive, and
Mm-hmm.
it like again shows him having an issue confronting the fact that he's Grisha.
Yeah.
And like it's really interesting because towards the end of Six of Crows, he was kind of, well, maybe I could go to
Yeah.
Ravka, and maybe he felt like he was kind of accepting it,
Mm-hmm.
especially because he had used it so much on the job.
Yeah.
And now he's snapping, and it feels like because he's seen his dad,
Mm-hmm.
that maybe that's the reason that he's not leaning into it
Yeah.
anymore. And that seems to maybe have changed his perspective.
Yeah. I would agree with that. We get a little bit of Kaz's plan too
Yes.
on the revenge piece.
Mm-hmm.
So, and part of what we're learning here, we know, but he's kind of filling in Inej as well because like she doesn't know that he went to Pekka Rollins for money.
Yes.
She's like, "You're
Mm-hmm.
in debt to him," and he's like, "No, I sold my Crow Club and the Fifth Harbor,
Harbor.
yeah, Fifth
Mm-hmm.
Harbor to him and everything. So like it's my money. Like don't worry."
Mm-hmm.
But he's like, Venek owns all these silos that hold all the sugar. And so we're going to put these chemical weevils into
Mm-hmm.
his sugar silos so that all of his sugar, well, not his sugar because it's other merchants' sugar, but all of that is not usable or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But I've used part of our money to invest in other sugar so that that price will skyrocket and it will lessen the market for it and everything. But he's also got some claims in there, so like basically we're working on our way to ruin his reputation to show that he's um planning on framing him. I had
Mm-hmm.
written it down because he worded it so well. We're going to take his money, his reputation, and his freedom all in one night. So like all of it to
Mm-hmm.
frame him and whatnot
Yeah.
for this.
He owns the silos. The sugar is owned by like farmers.
Yeah.
And so he has 10 of the silos, and
Mm-hmm.
then there are other silos that have
Mm-hmm.
sugar in them. And so they are going to put the weevil into the silos that he
He
owns.
owns.
And part of the sugar that Kaz bought was bought in Van Eck's name.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to look like he destroyed the sugar that he had control of
Mm-hmm.
in his storage to drive up the
Yep.
price of the sugar that he now owns that's
Mm-hmm.
stored somewhere else.
Yes.
So that's what's going to lose his like reputation,
Mm-hmm.
because nobody will ever want to store things in his silos again,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks like he's being dirty and underhanded.
Yeah. And I think one of the other sneak parts is, Kaz was thinking ahead because when they were in Smeet's office looking for
Mm-hmm.
the properties, they also left behind documentation certifying that he had bought sugar at other silos so that
Mm-hmm.
he can profit off of other sugar, not the silos, but the sugar,
Mm-hmm.
when all of this goes down. And so, once again, this whole plan is on Inez's shoulders because it's a 4-key lock system to be able to get in. So she's the only one that can do it. She
Of
has to
course.
climb up to the silo and then use a high wire to get between all 10 of them to drop a weevil into each one so that it can go down and literally like eat the sugar alive until it's mush.
Because that's the only other opening is at the top at the very top of the silo.
Mm-hmm.
It opens at the top, and she can get to the top, pour it in, and then high wire walk to
Yep.
the next one.
Yep.
And we all know what like condition she's in.
Yes.
She was starving herself.
Yep.
She was like injured.
Mm-hmm.
She should not. She's tired because she's been
Yep.
up. Um, so she's not back to like a good
Mhm.
place, and to put this all on her,
Yeah.
like
Yep.
she needs rest.
And Nina is trying to fight for that and
Mhm.
doesn't win, unfortunately, but here we are. And Kaz, though, does offend Inej because he's like, yeah, there will be a
Yeah.
net.
Mhm.
And she's like, I don't work with a net.
Mhm.
And I don't think Kaz meant to offend her in any sort of way. He's
No.
just being overprotective because he's seen her harmed, kidnapped, harmed again, threatened, like,
Mhm.
and let's be honest, like this is probably one of the most important people in his life.
Yeah, and he can't lose her
Mm-mm,
again.
no.
Um
And this is another way that he's putting her in danger.
mhm. Because that's he doesn't know this and we don't know this yet, but like there's a reason she doesn't work with Annette, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll get
Yeah.
there. But Nina
Mm-hmm.
makes a demand.
Yeah,
She
she does.
says, "I want to get the rest of the Grisha out,"
Mm-hmm.
and Casblook brushes her off. "We don't need you," because
Yeah.
she's like, "If not, I'm out." He's like, "Leave."
Yeah.
And Neж stands up and says,
Mm-hmm.
"But you need me, and I won't do it
Yeah.
unless you do that." So they kind of back him into a
Yeah.
corner, and this addition
Mm-hmm.
changes the plan. Now
Yeah.
they're not going to have enough people to work the net. And Inez
Mm-hmm.
is like, "Well, I didn't need it anyway."
Nope.
But Kaz has to recalculate a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of different things. They decide they want to use a ship from
Mm-hmm.
Van Eck. And
Yep.
so they need his seal to be able to
Mm-hmm.
have a forged letter that would get them out, get the
Mm-hmm.
Grisha out. So
Yep.
now they have to break into his house and break into a safe. Wyland's like, "You've never seen a safe like this. I don't care how good of a cracker you are.
Yeah.
And we're going to need these supplies to be able to basically burn through the door."
Yep.
And so the plan goes from crazy to batshit crazy,
Uh-huh. Unhinged.
complicated to the max.
Yes.
And so we then transition into Kaz's perspective, because
Mm-hmm.
now this was all in Inej's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So now let's see what Cranky Boy has to has to say about
Seriously.
this.
Yes. Yeah. And here, he's upfront in his own brain that he's not being honest with Anesh about the net because she asks him about it. And in his
Mhm.
head he says, like, well, because I can't lose you, basically. Like I
Mhm.
don't want you to come to harm and everything.
Mhm.
But he doesn't say it to her. And then you find out that Per Haskell, as they're talking, is pretty peeved
Oh yeah.
with everything that's gone down because they were supposed to be coming into this huge windfall of money, but they haven't.
Yep.
And so he's at the slat and he's upset, and so Kaz has to go and smooth things over if he can. So he sets up a meeting at the Knuckle, and Per Haskell is fuming. The Stodwatch have come and gone through everything. And he's berating him. And Kaz is all like, yes, sir. Of
Mhm.
course. Yes. All manners or whatever. Knowing his mark at Per Haskell. Like he says it a
Mhm.
couple of times, like knowing that using his manners will like soften him up and everything. And so Kaz like lays it out to him, like, don't worry, like I still have it worked out.
Mhm.
Like you're gonna still have 4 million Kruga. Like just give me a little bit more time. And Per Haskell kind of says, well, like, that's great. I'll give you the more time, but I need Inej back because
Mhm.
Pekka Rollins has opened up this casino. He's stepping in on my territory. Like, I need her to go do, her job and figure out what's going on. Like, we got some turf wars going on. I need the best of my best. And he goes, sure. I'll let you know when I see her next. She had been standing next to him the
Mhm.
entire time. And he's going, what?
Mhm. Yeah.
She belongs to me. Get her back here. She belongs to no
And
one.
Cass says that.
And Cass says it. Yep, she doesn't belong to anyone. So just kind of like seeing him being able to like wheel and deal himself out of yet another situation.
Mhm.
Because Per Haskell has been portrayed to us and we've seen it. Like he doesn't get involved. He doesn't get his
No.
hands dirty. He doesn't
Mm-mm.
he sits in his office, his room, wherever.
Mhm.
He just reaps all the benefits from everybody else's hard work.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
once again, he's going to do the same thing. He's upset, sure,
Mhm.
but he's still going to reap the benefits from the payoff
Mhm.
without lifting a finger.
And you know what's interesting? He talks about Pekka opening up a place. One, it's across from the Crow Club,
Mhm.
and it's called the Kalish Prince. And I find that interesting because isn't Pekka then competing with himself?
Yeah.
Because Kaz sold him
His
his
shares.
stakes
Yeah.
in the Crow Club. So if you own part of that club,
Mhm.
why would you want to build right across the street and take business from
Yeah.
it?
It
I guess
doesn't
if you don't own the whole thing, I don't know. I think that's an interesting like way to play it. Um but also, so at the very end of the last chapter we talked about Nina requesting the Grisha.
Yeah.
At the beginning of this one, Kaz is like, actually, I'm a little happy about this turn of events. He's like, I think Van Eck might figure out what these Shu are doing and try to go after the Grisha
Mm.
anyway to have control of them.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
so if he has some parem left, like getting the Grisha out might
Actually
actually
be good.
help us.
Yeah.
And if we help them escape, that's another slap in the face to Van Eck.
Mhm.
And so he's kind of okay with it. He's not the happiest
Yeah.
because it does complicate things, but he's like, it's not as bad.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, so after they meet with Haskell,
Mhm.
they have to go further.
Yeah.
And Inej tells Cass to stay in the boat. You don't have to come up with me.
Mhm. Yeah, because they've got to get some intel on the next place. They've got to scope it out so that
Mhm.
they can get back in and get the seal.
Yes. So she's like, you don't have to come up the church tower
Mhm.
with me. Just stay here. She can tell his
Yeah.
legs really bothering him. He's like, no, I'm going. And so he goes with her
Yep.
all the way up to the top. And then he's like, wait a second. And she's like, yeah, this is a one person job. I told you to stay in the boat.
Mhm.
And he has to painstakingly go all the way back down this
Mhm.
tower with his leg, which is really hurting him.
Mhm.
And it's just like,
Yep.
you should have listened to her in the first
The first
place, but
place.
you
Yep.
didn't.
Sure should have.
She finds out that Van Eck is planning a dinner
Yep.
with the merchant council. She's
Mhm.
like listening, and there's servants, and they're
Mhm.
talking about preparing a dinner for the next night. And she tells him that the doors are made with
Skylar
skylar
locks.
locks,
Mhm.
which complicates things. It doesn't keep Kaz out, but
Mm-mm.
like he's like, that's a little bit more than I thought he'd have. And then they, as they're like making their way back
Mhm.
towards Blackvale, they start talking about her captivity.
Mhm.
And Inej admits she didn't know if he would come
Yep.
for her.
Mhm.
And I feel like that kind of breaks something in him.
Mhm.
It bothers him. And he
Yeah.
says to her, I would come for you. He
Mhm.
said, when he saw the wary look she shot him, he said it again. I would come for you. And if I couldn't walk, I'd crawl to you. And no matter how broken we were, we'd fight our way out together, knives drawn, pistols blazing, because
Yep.
that's what we do. We
Yep.
never stop fighting.
Yep.
And so I think that is really like a point where he's showing his commitment to her
Yeah.
and he how he cares for her without explicitly saying he cares for her.
Mhm.
Like, I would basically do anything to get to you and
Yeah.
make sure that we could get out together.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we're back with Nina, and you see a little bit more of her like perem addiction. She's
Yes.
talking about just like the tiredness that it's giving her. She's not very hungry and everything, but having an edge back, she basically equates an edge to her hope. Like
Mhm.
having her back in has turned the tide for her quite a bit. And they joke once again about repaying each other's debts with waffles.
Mhm.
And I just love that camaraderie
Yeah.
between the two of them.
I don't think I wrote this down. I don't think the crew truly understands the sacrifice that Nina
Hmm.
made for them. Don't get me wrong, I think they all know it was a big deal,
Yeah.
but I don't think they realize how big that sacrifice
Yeah.
was and how it will affect Nina for the rest of her life. Like she's constantly dealing with these cravings.
Hmm.
Her power is basically taken
Yeah.
away. It it's heavy.
Mhm.
And like, yeah, they're like, oh yeah, she took care of us, but
Mhm.
like, or she did this thing, but it doesn't feel, especially in this book,
Yeah.
like they've really given her her flowers.
Yeah.
It felt like at the end of the last book, they were like, I hope she pulls
Yeah.
through, and like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she did that. But it
Mhm.
never feels like anybody gives her true gratitude
Mhm.
or like sits with the gravity of it
Yeah.
in, I don't know, in a certain way. I know they talk about like what to expect,
Yeah.
but the fact that listening to her describe her addiction and her cravings and how it feels, like you feel the
Mhm.
weight of that.
Mhm.
And so I don't know that the crew really appreciates it in that
Yeah.
way.
I think Inej gets it. I think that's why one of the reasons why they connect so much, because they've had some shared experiences and whatnot. Because Inej is kind of Nina kind of catches on to how much the captivity has
Mhm.
taken a toll on Inej and the time that she needs.
Mhm.
Because they're chatting and fear comes up again.
Yeah.
And
Mhm. I did too.
I wrote down this quote because I think this is the one that like it just stuck with home and it really it made like the metaphor
Mhm.
here just really makes sense to me. She talks about Zoya, who we know is
Mhm.
one of her previous teachers. Zoya used to say that fear is a phoenix. You can watch it burn 1,000 times and still it will return. So
Mhm.
if you think about that, the way a phoenix is, once they get to a certain maturity, they burn
Yep.
and then
Rise from the
rise
ashes.
from the ashes. They rebirth from the ashes. So that fear is a constant like cycle
Mhm.
that you're having to overcome over and over again through different pieces.
Yeah.
So we get a glimpse of them before Nina and Matthias go on the next step of the mission. Nina's step of the mission, by the way. They have to go undercover as brother and sister, so they can't be
But
all flirty with each other.
dressed as Fjerdan's, and
Yes.
she comes out, and as she's putting this on, she's like, "This is god awful. This is so ugly. I hate this." And she walks out, and everybody's like, "Oh my god!" And Matthias is just like, "You're so beautiful." Like
Uh-huh.
he loves her and
Yes.
just thinks she's the most beautiful thing in this like traditional
Hmm.
Fjerdan dress. And she even
Yeah.
thinks to herself at one point, like, I'm gonna have to invest in knits or something like that. Like, it was just so funny because everybody was like, mm.
Yeah.
And he was just like, that's the best thing ever.
Yeah. So we see them traveling through Little Ravka and just kind of seeing some of the wear and the merchants that are out and about selling,
Mm-hmm.
um, the saint bones that are out there, and hearing a little bit of the lore behind those, the story of the barbarian and the princess
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
she explains to him.
This is where we get the most, I feel like, connections, or where we start to get the most
Mhm.
connections to Shadow and Bone and like Ravkan culture and stuff
Yeah.
like that. The Princess and the Barbarian is hilarious.
Yes. So like I just loved it because like it's a really great story and like Matthias is like I mean
Mm-hmm.
very uncomfortable. It's not. No. She's like, but they have a cave. And there could be a bathtub in the cave. And he's like,
Mhm.
stop. This is so inappropriate.
Well, as they're walking through, she's like, she's looking around
Yeah.
and people are like uncomfortable.
Yes.
And then she looks up and she's like, you're scowling at people. You need to stop that. You look broody.
You look
You need to
mean.
look approachable. And
Yeah.
so she does these, she starts talking to try to get his face to not have RBF.
Yes. Yes. So they finally make it to the tavern. She gives, this coded message to
Mm-hmm.
be able to get in. And as soon as they sit down, everybody stands up and it's a trap.
Yeah, it's a
Like
trap.
attacked. And Nina reaches for her powers, and we're seeing again that her powers have changed. And this time,
Mm-hmm.
those saint bones are the things that come to her rescue. Those are the things that she's able to manipulate with her power, and they come all flying in through the window. And somebody yells, "They've got backup! They've got backup!" When really
Mm-hmm.
it's just Nina's powers at work.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden she makes eye contact with somebody in the tavern, and it's Zoya.
Well, there's like there at first there's this person that looks shoe. They say gold eyes,
Oh yeah,
like come with us, and they're like, no, like we're not
yeah.
going to do that. and then a gust of wind throws them all the way up to
Oh,
the
yeah.
ceiling, and it's Zoya. Zoya
Mm-hmm.
walks through the door, and you're like, oh.
Okay.
And then that switches us to the next chapter, which is not them, it's Wylan.
Wylan. Yep. Wylan and Jesper. Jesper, going with Wylan on this next leg of the adventure. You find this because like Jesper's like, well, you helped me with your dad, so I'm coming with you.
Mm-hmm.
So Jesper is on this mission with him to go get the materials for this weevil that he needs to
Mm-hmm.
be able to break into his father's safe.
And they have to go out into the country to
Mm-hmm.
get a particular chemical from a quarry.
Yes.
Except when they get off the boat in the country,
Mm-hmm.
Wyland's like, okay, we just need to go to a general store. And Jasper's like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, I didn't really need to come out here,
No.
but I really wanted to go see my mom's grave.
Yeah. I can get it in like it's in all these like paint products and stuff. I just
Mm-hmm.
need an excuse to get out here. And Jesper's like, wait, you pulled one over on Kaz?
Because Kaz said that
Mm-hmm.
they needed to focus on that, but
Yep.
they could go over to this church
Yeah.
if they had time.
Yes.
And Wyland made time.
Yep. Wyland
He
made
made
time.
time.
Yeah.
So while they're on the boat to the
Yes.
countryside, we actually get a little bit of insight into Wyland's dyslexia and how he hid it for so long. His
Mm-hmm.
father would read things or other people would read things to him, and he would memorize it down to where to turn the page.
Yep.
And so he was able to kind of keep it quiet
Yeah.
for a certain amount of time.
Well, I think it's really clever the way he memorized it though, because he
Mm-hmm.
put them
Yeah.
to melodies. He would put
Mm-hmm.
them to tunes. So like there's like this musical side of him like coming out even more.
Mm-hmm.
And everything. So he could hide it until he was what, 8 or 9, I think is what he
Eight,
said.
8, I believe. And so we also get the backstory on how he landed in the barrel. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
this was so sad to me because
I hate this man.
his father doesn't know what to do with him. He
Nope.
takes all of this time to try all of these different tutors, all of these different strategies,
Mm-hmm.
and at a certain point he's like, okay, you know what, I don't know what else to do with you. I'm sending you to a music school
Yep.
in Belent, and there will be a secretary there that will
Mm-hmm.
take care of all of your correspondence, so you can just do the music
Yep.
thing. And he hands him his enrollment papers and money, and he's like, you're going to be escorted by
Mm-hmm.
2 of my men to make
Yep.
sure you get there and get settled in. And Wyland's like upset, like, I can't even get on a boat by myself.
I need chaperones.
And he gets on this boat and he's like, fine, whatever, at least I'll be away from my dad and I'll have something to do.
Mm-hmm.
But in the middle
Hold
of
on, before that, he went to go say goodbye to Alice. I wrote this
oh yeah,
down. He went to go say goodbye to Alice. Alice didn't even know he was leaving
yeah,
or whatever.
mm-hmm.
And she alludes to the fact that the next time I see you, we'll have more to celebrate.
We'll have somebody to play with, I think.
And that's how we found out that she
Mm-hmm.
was pregnant and having, a sibling.
And she seemed like their relationship seems awkward but fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like she
Yeah.
she likes Wyland and she talks about what they're going to do at the holidays, so it's not like she's in on any of it.
Yeah. And she's only a couple years older than him, so that's just
Yeah, it's
weird
sad.
too. But here we are.
But in the middle of being on the boat,
Yes.
the men try to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
One of them tries to strangle him, and they're
Yep.
kind of stopped by somebody who's working on the boat. And Wylan is like, oh my God, there was never a
Mm-mm.
position. This is what was meant to happen.
Yep.
And he jumps over
Yep.
the boat and has to swim. So here we have another character who has to swim
Mm-hmm.
and kind of like stay behind boats to make sure that they like stay alive, because he heard one of the guys jump in after him.
Yep.
And so he's like swimming and finally gets to the side and starts wandering and ends up in the barrel.
Yeah.
Pryor's face, that's the guy that's choking him, was dispassionate, nearly bored, and Wyland understood then that he would never reach the school in Belent. He'd never been meant to. There was no secretary, no account in his name, no one expecting his arrival. The supposed enrollment papers in his pocket might say anything at all. Wyland hadn't even bothered to try to read them.
Yeah.
He was going to disappear, just as his father had always wanted, and he'd hired these men to do the job. His father, who had read to him to sleep at night, who'd brought him sweet mallow tea and honeycomb when he'd been sick with lung fever. As long as it takes people to forget I had a son. His father was going to erase him from the ledger, a mistaken calculation, a cost that could be expunged. The tally would be made right. And I think I wanted to point this out because he talks about these fond memories he has of his
Mm-hmm.
father taking care of him and like
Mm-hmm.
loving him, and
Mm-hmm.
to come to this point where he's like,
Yeah.
I'm going to have him killed is just so heartbreaking.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's where Jesper kind of like shakes him out of it, like,
Yeah.
hey, we're on the shore, like we got to figure out how to get to this church. And they make this very bumpy truck
Yeah.
ride, and like, he's like, I think we're gonna walk when we get back because I think I broke a rib.
Mhm.
And they make their way to the church, and as they're walking to the church and like observing it and everything, he's like, why are there bars on all the windows?
Well, this looks bigger than just a church. Like it looks like people might live here.
Yeah.
They're like, and Jesper's like, maybe it's a monastery. Like maybe like there's nuns or something.
Mm-hmm. And this woman comes and greets them, and
Hmm.
they say, oh, we're here, we're
On
servants of
behalf. Hmm.
Van Eck. And she's like, oh, if you had given us more notice, like things would have gone faster or whatever. We'll go prepare her.
She's like, come this way. And they think they're gonna, or she says, let me take you to her.
Yeah, let me take you to
And
her.
instead of heading towards the cemetery like they thought, she heads back towards the building. And they kind of look at each other very confused.
Hmm.
And she brings them into an office and she's like, here, you'll see everything's in order.
Yep, gives them a file.
Gives them a file.
Poor Wyland can't read.
And they're like, well, we'll go prepare her. We'll
Hmm.
get her cleaned up. And Wyland's like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Jesper, tell me what it is.
I can't read the file, tell me what's going on.
And Jesper's like, what they find is so much worse. Like Jesper is like, your mother's still alive.
Hmm.
He had her committed.
Yep.
This isn't a church, it's an
Mm-mm.
asylum.
Asylum. Hmm.
And so they take them in. And again, you have to remember, Wyland does not have his own face.
Nope.
He looks like a shoe boy.
Hmm.
And so he walks in and he sees his mom, and he's not
Hmm.
at first convinced it's his mom because he thinks she looks too old. Her
Hmm.
hair is lightning.
Hmm.
It's only tinged with like
Yeah.
the reddish color that they both have, and she's just like a shell of herself.
Hmm.
And the nurse says, Maria, you have
Visitors.
Hendrix, you have visitors. And he sees her mumble something and he doesn't know what it is.
Hmm.
Um, and he goes to go like talk to her, and Jesper's
Hmm.
like, oh, you go and ask her some questions. Ma'am, could you take me for a tour of the facility so that he can have some alone time
Yeah.
with his mom? And he's just like so distraught.
Hmm. Yeah. She when she looks at him, he does recognize her, though, like the
Yeah.
same facial
Hmm.
expression, the same facial features that like
Hmm.
he and she share, and everything. And he asks if something about like, do you like music?
Hmm.
And she's able to say
Hmm.
yes, but there's not much here, or something like that. And he does play the flute for
Yeah.
her.
Well, and she has an easel set up and she's painting.
Painting, yes.
And so he's like, oh, she paints.
Mm-hmm.
And then he plays several, I think several
Mm-hmm.
songs, several
Yeah.
different songs for her.
Yeah. And then when he's done playing, before Jesper and the woman return, he's like,
Hmm.
what has he done to you? What has he done to you? And
Hmm.
she repeats it back. You can just tell she's not
Hmm.
fully, I don't know. You don't know what's going on with her. And it's absolutely heartbreaking. I wrote down, referring to Van Eck, this man is a monster. Like,
And it's unclear if she is cognizant and is asking that of him because he's
mm-hmm,
like a representative, like, what has he done to you?
mm-hmm,
Or if she's repeating because she's drugged up.
right.
It's very unclear
You don't know what
what the
condition
state.
she's in
Hmm.
based on where she's at.
Exactly.
And then Jesper comes back and is, taken, or Wyland and them are leaving. And the woman that's been helping them is like, well, would you like to see some of her paintings before you leave?
Hmm.
And this is the most heartbreaking part
Oh
for me.
yeah.
Like, I teared up.
Hmm.
Every single one of the paintings that they had
Hmm.
was of little boy Wyland.
There was a bunch of different ones and he's featured in every
Every
single
single one
one.
of them.
Like if there was a landscape, he's playing in it.
Yep.
Like, so you could tell like that's all she wants
Yep.
is her boy.
Yep.
And it's been years.
Mm-hmm.
And this like breaks Wylan, and he
Mm-hmm.
very much blames himself for
Yes.
her commitment
Yes.
because he thinks, oh, if I could read, he
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be looking for another wife to have another
Yeah.
heir. And Jasper makes a strong point
Mm-hmm.
about things Van Eck could have
Yes.
done to justify his reading. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
he could say that you had problems with your eyes, like you
Mm-hmm.
could, or there are like several other things he says, but
Yeah.
yeah, that he could say you were blind or have eye troubles. Like
Mm-hmm.
it didn't need to be that you couldn't read
Yeah.
and still have people to help you and still be upstanding. It's
Mm-hmm.
not,
There
and
are plenty of workarounds to make.
Wylan, who up until this point, I feel like,
Yeah.
has continuously defended his
Yes.
father or made excuses for his father, is now fully on board with
Yep.
taking him down and
Mm-hmm.
is like, no, this man is terrible.
Yep.
Regardless of if I can read or not, he should not have done these
Yeah.
things. And I want my revenge.
Yeah, this is the two things that Jasper had said to Wyland that I was just like, go Jasper.
Mm-hmm.
This happened because your father is a monster dressed in a quality suit,
Mm-hmm.
which is true. Like
Yeah.
it's not your fault that you or your mother are in the situation that you guys are
Yeah.
in. Your father made choices and put you through these things. And he also did say, Kaz is going to tear your father's damn life apart. And he's like,
Mm-hmm.
yep, you're right. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
And he got up and going. One of the things though that I wanted to mention, because you had said it too, and I wanted to tie it back in, but they kept on addressing Maria as Miss Hendricks, Miss
Oh
Hendricks,
yeah.
Miss
Mm-hmm.
Hendricks. And when they were leaving her,
Yeah.
she kept on like whispering, mumbling something, and Wyland caught what she said as they were leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, they said, goodbye, Miss Hendricks. And Maria says, Vanek.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
part of her is very
Mm-hmm.
much aware that something's not right, that she is not Hendricks, that she has been married, that she is a Van Eck, that something
Yeah.
something's not adding up.
Well, and that makes you question how lucid she is.
Yes.
And maybe she's just sedated and
Mm-hmm.
not like mentally gone,
Mm-hmm.
that she corrects them every time and
Yeah.
she knows who put her there.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's so unfortunate that Wyland doesn't look like himself
Mm-hmm. It is.
because
Well, and clearly she's got memories because she's making
painting him.
paintings of her son.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like things aren't adding up. We already knew that he was a piece of trash. This
Mm-hmm.
man is the worst.
Well, and I'm a little worried because they said they had to clean her up.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of place did he put her in?
Yeah, 100%.
Mm.
All right, let's move on to Matthias. Um, Matthias, now remember, they were just attacked in the tavern. He's with
Mm-hmm.
Nina, and he's seeing the change in Nina's powers for the first time. So he's kind of questioning what's
Yeah.
going on.
Mm-hmm.
And they're now traveling with Zoya and the other Robkins through the underbelly.
One thing I want to point out, and we should remember, is that Zoya is the monster in
Yes.
Fjerdan bedtime stories.
Yes.
So Jarl Broom is that for the
Mm-hmm.
Rovkins. He is now
Yes.
with a person that he was told is a complete and utter
Mm-hmm.
monster.
Yeah.
And or like has grown up that way.
Yeah.
And so that makes the stakes a little bit different. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, he knows Grisha aren't
Yes.
completely the enemy and they can be good people, but if you are told your entire life that this person is a boogeyman and now
Mm-hmm.
they're in front of you, you never know how you might react to that, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Yeah. So we kind of see them going through into this like underground hiding area. And he kind of gives us his perspective of Zoya,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of her background and everything. And Nina and Zoya get into a little bit of a fight because like they pull out these shackles and she stands right in front of Matthias and clearly is like, absolutely not, like we're not doing this. And then
Mm-hmm.
she changes language and she's like, we're speaking in curse so everybody can understand what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Matthias is staying free. We're having these conversations. Like we are here because we know things that are going down, blah blah blah. Like we know about Parem. They're like, how do you know about Parem? And she gives them the spark notes. She's like, well, I got caught by them, but then he saved me, and then he got caught here, and then I saved him, and then we went to the ice court, and he saved me from Brahm, and then we got and You know, the very quick version of the story,
Mhm.
leaving out Kue because she's not ready to
Yeah.
divulge that
Mhm.
information or whatever, but trying to convince Zoya and Genya to help with the plan to get the Grisha out of the city.
Well, and she tells them, especially about the parem, she's like, I've seen it in action
Yeah,
and I've
I've
experienced it
experienced it.
myself. And well, one, Jenya is very happy to see her.
Yes.
She's like, Nina! Like, she
Yeah.
is very happy to
We
see
thought you were
her.
dead.
And once she tells them that she's experienced it herself, Jenya kind of gets sad and says, You didn't. And Zoya goes off on her because
Yeah.
if you remember from book one, when she was taken by
Hmm.
Matthias's crew, she was with Zoya and had stormed away from
They
the
had just had a
camp.
fight.
And they
Hmm.
had, so Zoya is like, You're always like this. You're so impulsive.
Hmm.
And, Jenya's like, You need to calm down,
Yeah.
like, chill out. It's going to be okay. And yeah, she's like, You're in this crawl space
Hmm.
under the Rovkin embassy.
Hmm.
They obviously didn't need her warning because there was already people
Yeah.
hiding there. And she's like, But we want to help. And they're like, We don't need your help.
Hmm.
She's like, But we have a ship. And they're like, We have a ship. She's like, But the docks are
Hmm.
closed because something I forgot we didn't touch on either is the Council of Tides
Yeah.
dry docked like the shoe ships
Hmm.
and they have now like closed the harbor. So
Yeah.
nobody is leaving at this point.
And they're also like checking everywhere because
Mm-hmm.
they're looking for
For
Wylan
Wylan. Mm-hmm.
because of Vanek.
And so we she tells them like we have this ship. It's
Hmm.
actually
Part of
one
the
of
merchant
the merchant
council.
council's membership. And so it would be easier to get you out
Hmm.
on that because nobody can come in and they're looking at foreign ships.
Yeah.
And so they kind of agree with that.
Yeah.
And so Nina tells them everything, leaving out
Yes.
Kue. So after they tell Zoya and Jenya like the plan or what they're willing to offer as a
Hmm.
plan, they obviously don't agree necessarily right away. They like go off to discuss it. And that leaves Nina and Matthias in this like crawl space together. They leave them there with like guards alone. And Nina is looking for validation from Matthias.
Hmm.
Like she wants him basically to tell her how he feels and that he actually likes her
Hmm.
and not just like transferring his focus from Fierda to her. Like
Yeah.
she wants something from him. And as you might expect, he has a very hard time
He
with this.
does.
Like he is as stiff as they come.
Hmm.
And so he keeps trying to give her what she wants and fails kind of miserably at it. But he does talk through Fjerdan courtship, which I
Yes.
think is a great insight into their culture.
Yeah. I really loved that part of it. Like, you know, I would have called on you and we would have gone walking and then we would have done, you know, all the
Mm-hmm.
different steps. And it seems very old fashioned to like, you know, us nowadays in
Mm-hmm.
modern times and everything. But just seeing like how the progression and the respect of a relationship
Mm-hmm.
is within his culture. Um, and she takes it into like this teasing mode,
Mm-hmm.
which is really cute
That's
because
Nina.
it's also Nina, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I caught myself like laughing out loud
Yeah.
because I want to say she just like kind of gives him like a little peck of a kiss,
Mm-hmm.
and Matthias gets fired up. He's like,
For once, he's
right?
not just a solid block of ice.
Yeah. But he gets a little carried away
Mhm.
because he's that
I
fired up.
mean, it is Nina.
It is Nina. This is
And
true.
there has been this tension for 2 books
Yes,
now.
yes. And that's the moment where, you know, things are getting a little handsy, and all of a sudden we hear a to break up the awkward moment. Um, and Zoya and Jenya return to kind of
Yeah. And Zoya's like, ew. And
really.
Jenya's like, yay for you! Like, she is so happy for Nina, and I
Mhm.
love that for her.
Mhm.
I just, if you've read Shadow and Bone, I actually really love Jenya. Like, she's
Yeah.
kind of like a character you have mixed feelings about, but you really do like love her. And so to see her so happy um for Nina, when a lot of times I feel like Nina's really had to like struggle and stuff, and then
Mhm.
Zoya's like,
Yes.
girl, what are you doing?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and then we also got a little bit more perspective of Matthias helping her through the withdrawal. There was kind of like a
Hmm.
flashback within this moment. And he one of the things that he did to help her through was tell her stories or more things
Hmm.
about his culture and where he grew up. And one of the stories that he or one of the things that he talked about was the white wolves that they train with as Druskella. And she asked him, well, like, what was your wolf's name? Like, did you have one?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, Trassel.
Hmm.
And it was heartbreaking at the same time because he's presumed dead slash a traitor, depending on who's got the knowledge of him. And
Hmm.
so a wolf without the Druskella are put back into the wild. And oftentimes, when that happens, they're not accepted back into a pack. So, his wolf has the possibility of just being this like lone wolf out in this. I mean, think about it. It's this frozen, desolate, Arctic
Hmm.
area. Um, and so it's just.
Well, and the story about his wolf. So like he says
Mm-hmm.
at a certain point, they're if they're pups, they take the young Druskella and you pick your pup basically. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes there's not enough. And when it's time for him to go, he goes, but there's this one in the back
Mm-hmm.
in a cage.
Oh God, it was
And
heartbreaking.
he's not a brand new pup, but he's also not quite a year. And he has a big scar on his face. And
Mm-hmm.
the lady tells him, the
Mm-hmm.
breeder tells him, just stay away from that one.
Yeah.
That one's not good.
Yeah.
And basically he got out and got into some trouble, and a person like broke a bottle and
Mm-hmm.
basically sliced him to get him away from him.
Mm-hmm.
And so he doesn't really like humans.
Mm-mm. He doesn't have trust for him.
And Matthias is like, nope, this is mine. And he opens the cage and
Mhm.
sticks his hand in, and the dog, like the wolf, bites down
Mhm.
so hard on his arm that he draws blood.
Mhm.
And Matthias doesn't yelp, doesn't
Mm-mm.
scream, just holds on and
Yeah, just kind of like stares him down, like giving him the
mm-hmm.
silent, like, I'm not going to hurt you.
Yeah. And they form this bond, and he's like, nope,
Mhm.
this one's mine. I'm taking this one.
Mhm.
And so, like, I need to know more about this.
Yeah.
Um, I am I'm a big animal lover. We both
Yeah.
are, and we're both dog moms. And so I can't imagine my and I have a husky. So I can't imagine like somebody putting my husky out,
Ugh.
and like one of my worst fears is like something happening and my dog
Mhm.
waiting for me to come home and I don't come home. And
Mhm.
so I can't imagine that for his
Mm-mm.
wolf. I couldn't.
Ugh. Lone wolf howling in the Arctic. Ooh,
Mhm.
poor guy. So Zoya and Jenya come back and basically they've agreed to help with this plan. Like, yeah, we'll wait for your message. We'll help get the Grisha out
Mhm.
of Ketterdam through this whole elaborate plan that has, come about. Um, Nina also realizes that using her power that second time with the bones coming through has made her
Mhm.
hungry, which is
Mhm.
seeming to be a good sign because she has not been wanting to eat anything for the longest time since recovery and everything. She's had no appetite, barely eaten a lick.
Mhm.
So they're leaving after, Jenya and Zoya have agreed to the plan. And as they're going back through Ketterdam, they look around and they're kind of like hit in the face with another wanted poster. And this time it's with Matthias's face on it, which is shocking because he's presumed dead from Hellgate.
Mhm.
Muzzin was under disguise as him, and they had found out it feels like ages ago, but it was probably just days ago when Specht
Mhm.
and Roddy had come to Blackvale and said, "Hey, like by the way, like Muzzin died. Like everybody thinks you're dead." But
Mhm.
somebody identified Muzzin, and so
Mhm.
now Matthias has a wanted poster up there for an insane amount of Kruga, and it says dead or alive.
Mhm.
So this is kind of like a shock to both of their systems. And
Yeah.
he's not really disguised in any shape or form in this situation because everybody thought he was dead, and nobody that they've been working with, like with Van Eck and all of that, has really seen him to be able to do a lot. And so they have to scramble to
Yeah, they're
get back
like,
into hiding.
how did they figure that out?
Mhm.
So either somebody was like, that's this guy named Muzzin, or a
Mhm.
Fjerdan went and looked and was like, I don't know who this is, but that's not Matthias Helvar.
Mhm.
Like that is somebody else. And that's nerve wracking
Yes, it is.
because now they're running out of options
Mhm.
of people that can go out in broad daylight without,
Mhm.
too drawing too much notice.
Yeah. I think that leaves Wylan, which is because he's still, tailored as Kue, but
Mhm.
also they can't use him too often because there are going to be people that are going to be able to identify Kue. And then Nina hasn't been seen by Van Eck yet.
Nina hasn't been seen, but still, even with Wylan, excuse me, looking like Kue,
Mhm.
a shoe boy still stands out. People
Mhm.
like, it sounds like Kirch is very multicultural. Like there are lots
Mhm.
of different kinds of people, but people still look at him and comment like,
Mhm.
you know, I don't we don't really like get an idea of like how many shoe are in
Yeah.
Ketterdam or in Kirch, but
Mhm.
it seems to be odd
Yeah.
because people take notice
Yeah.
when he's in the room.
Mhm.
And then we move to Jesper, and we never get Kue's point of view,
Mm-mm.
but Kue has a sense of humor,
Mhm.
and he cracks me up all the time. Um, from what we like hear from him. But anyway, Nina and Matthias return to tell the crew what happened at the tavern. They tell them about uh, finding the refugees
Mhm.
and Nina's power and kind of being ambushed. But Nina specifically
Mhm.
leaves out that they met Zoya and Jenham.
Mhm.
She does not say that they met members of the Ravkin triumvirate.
Mm-mm.
And so right off the bat, you're like, hmm,
Yeah.
she's still loyal to Ravka. She wants to get these people out. And so she knows that kind of knowing that they're there, that kind of power,
Mhm.
they could change some people's willingness to help them.
Mhm.
Yeah, and everybody has a wanted poster
Yeah.
besides Nina and Kue.
Yeah. And I think the funny part about this scene, it also shows like their age again, is that they
Mhm.
all start comparing the prices that are on their
Yes.
heads.
Mhm. Yeah, Kaz is like, "Oh, I've got 100, a hundred
Mhm.
thousand Kruga." Jesper's like, "Yeah, mine's only 30K." So insulting.
Yes.
And I think it's Wylan is like, "What are you guys talking
Yeah.
about? Like, stop compare like this is a
Mhm.
game."
Yeah. It's morbid.
Mhm. I'm Hey, they have had probably many bounties on their heads
Yes.
or have always dreamed of it because of the circles that they run in. Let them go. Just
Yep.
let them go.
Mhm. Yeah. Another thing that they're doing is they're prepping for their mission
Mhm.
is the coffee extract. I thought this was neat
Oh,
because
yeah.
the shoe, these new shoe, the Kurgud,
Mhm.
um, they're realizing like they can scent Grisha powers, and so Kue, Nina, and Jesper are all given coffee extract to kind of like it's almost like perfuming themselves, hoping that that will like douse that smell.
Yeah, because coffee is very, very strong. And that's something I feel like gets used in lots of different
Mhm.
contexts, like hunting, things like that. Like hunters will try to cover up their scent so it doesn't like scare off,
Mhm.
and they didn't even know they gave off a scent.
Mhm.
And Nina suggests that they all go to Ravka.
Yeah.
She's like, why don't we just all go to Ravka? She invites Inej. She tells both Jesper, both him and his dad could come.
Mhm.
And Jesper quickly refuses. He's like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I want to get my
Mhm.
dad and the money that we need and get him back to that farm in Novi Zem
Mhm.
as quickly as possible. And you can tell, like, it's a little bit hard to tell if that is him struggling with his power, if
Mhm.
it's also probably a mix of his mom is on that farm,
Mhm.
his mother's body is on that farm,
Mhm.
and so he wants to make sure that he makes that right.
Yeah.
And so his dad can be there with her, but it's just very, very quick
Mhm.
that he's like, no, I'm not going.
Yeah.
I already have my plan. This is what I'm doing. That's
Mhm.
how it's
How
going to
it's gonna
play out.
be. Mhm. Yeah. And Kue um is definitely wanting to go to Ravka. He pipes up
Mhm.
and he's like, nobody's asking me what I want to do. Like, I want to
Mhm.
go. And he speaks up again here about how he's wanting to find an antidote. That if he had the means, if he had the right research team and more scientists at hand,
Mhm.
um, that he wants to find a way to help hide Grisha more safely so that they could still use their powers and not get ill, because it's mentioned that the Shu Grisha that don't use their powers get very sickly, pale, thin. And so he's wanting to help that situation because, unfortunately, we've seen Grisha are hunted, or they are, what's the word I'm looking for?
Experimented on.
Experimented on. But they're discriminated against. So
Mhm.
he's trying to find a way to make life easier for them.
And also, along with that, is like an antidote with the antidote to
Hmm.
Parem, even if he doesn't make it anymore, just the knowledge
Knowledge of
that
it.
it's possible, um, other people will try. And if they succeed, having an antidote would be very beneficial and save a lot of lives.
Hmm.
And so he's thinking, if I can get to Ravka, where they train fabricators, my father was a fabricator, and if
Hmm.
we can get to a place like that, maybe we can figure out a way
Hmm.
to create an antidote and save anybody for any of the parem that's left out there
Hmm.
and any attempts to create a new drug.
Yeah. And also possibly help people like
Mm-hmm.
Nina who have used it and survived the withdrawal. Like, maybe an antidote would help her in the situation that she's in.
I'd love to see that,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah. Wylan also confronts Kaz in this moment, because Kaz knew about Wylan's mom.
Yeah. Wyland also refuses to go to Ravka. He's
Hmm.
like, I have business to take care of. And
Yeah.
Jesper realizes that Kaz knew the whole time.
Hmm.
And this pisses Jesper off. Like, he is
Yes.
so mad
Hmm.
because Wylan still has this innocence about him, and
Hmm.
the city that broke all of them,
Hmm.
did all of these terrible things, and like grew the darkness in all these people, has
Hmm.
not done that to Wylan.
Hmm.
And this this
This is
thing
what, yeah.
might do it.
Well, you saw the change in him when he saw his mother in the state that she was.
Mhm.
Because before, he was ready, like, he was like, my dad's not all that evil. Like, maybe we don't need to go this far. And
Mhm.
then he saw what he had fully done to his mom, and he was like, nah, I'm going to let Kaz go get him.
And that's what Cass says. He
Hmm.
said Wyland needed to see it for himself to
Hmm.
truly understand who and what Van Eck is. And he's
Hmm.
like, I needed you righteous. Like, I
Yes.
needed you to
Hmm.
finally stop making excuses for your father, realize
Hmm.
he's a monster, and let us do what needs to be done and be
Yeah.
all in.
Yeah.
And that's like, that hurts, but
Hmm.
I get why. Because, like,
Yeah.
would you necessarily believe it? He would have had to go see it for himself anyway.
Yeah.
And then Jesper and Wyland have a little moment. They're so cute. I love this because we see like
Hmm.
little moments between
Yeah.
lots of different people. And Jesper invites Wyland to stay with him and his dad, like in the hotel, while
Hmm.
they're putting things in order.
Yeah.
And Jesper makes a pass at Wylan.
Yeah.
But Kaz breaks him up before anything happens. I'm like, let them have their moment.
Seriously, come
Chill
on.
out. So then we're starting to get to the point where they're kind of splitting up
Mm-hmm.
for the plan to begin. And Nina and Inej leave
Mm-hmm.
next, and that leaves Jesper, Kue, Matthias, because Kaz and Wylan have been gone, and that leaves those three, Jesper, Kue, and Matthias, in the tomb waiting.
Waiting.
They
Mm-hmm.
kind of have to wait for a certain time, and they finally talk about Nina's change and Parem, because
Mm-hmm.
remember before we saw Matthias ask Jesper about
Yep.
it, and Jesper kind of gave him like this ominous, just have her back. She's not really herself.
Mm-hmm.
And then Matthias finally saw her control the bones.
Yes.
And so he's like, okay, so this is like really strange. Could this be the change?
Mm-hmm.
Like, could Parem have changed her power? And then Jesper and Matthias kind of get into a little bit of a tussle.
Yeah.
Um, like we mentioned before, they talk a little bit about how using your power makes
Mm-hmm.
Grisha healthier. And if you've seen the Shadow and Bone TV show, or if you've read the book, one of the main characters suppresses her power for a very long time, and she's very sickly. And then a childhood friend sees her after she uses her power, and he's like, "Wow, like you look so much better." And Matthias is like, well, there are lots of different kinds of sickness, kind
Mm-hmm.
of insinuating that his gambling addiction is a form of sickness, and maybe if
Mm-hmm.
he used his power, he wouldn't be so drawn to
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then we get a little bit of a flashback of his mom and more insight into
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I really loved this flashback
I
for
did too.
Jasper. So you see, you actually hear a little bit about the courtship between his mom and his dad.
Yeah.
And his dad was super smitten on his mom, but his mom was
Hmm.
kind of hard to get. So
Hmm.
he took his time to really, cozy up to her and make her realize that, like,
Woo
yes,
her.
woo her, like, I am here for you, this is
Hmm.
serious and all that, to the point where when he purchased the farm, he put it in her name,
Hmm.
which I was like, wow. That, I feel
Hmm.
like, for like the world that this series is set in, I feel like that is huge.
Hmm.
And so then we kind of hear a little bit more of a description of Jasper's mom. She's described as having infinite energy, just like Jasper did. She taught him how to shoot and aim, and
Hmm.
she secretly showed him how to use some of the Grisha powers. And I say secretly because when she would use her powers, it would upset the
Calm.
comb. Thank you. Um, because he was so worried that somebody would find out about it, and then she would be taken away or ostracized or harmed for it. Um, and we also find out that they didn't call it Grisha powers, they were
Zawa.
Zawa,
Hmm.
thank you. And so it's just kind of a different perspective seeing kind of the clash. They describe like a fight that they have because, like, she would use some of her powers sometimes to help others.
Yes.
And then Colm would find out about it and they would bicker about it and she would get her way and they would kiss and make up,
Hmm.
and then it would just keep on happening again and again. But the tragic part is that her powers did end up leading to her death.
Yeah.
Um, she was called upon to help another Grisha girl, a young girl. She and I want to say it was two or three other friends,
Two other girls. Yeah.
um, drank um, inadvertently, like, poisoned water.
Yeah, it seemed like contaminated water. Like maybe it
Yeah.
had heavy metals or something in it, and there wasn't even like a bucket to get it. Like they really tried hard to get this water,
Hmm.
and um, she's basically dying. The other two
Yeah.
girls are gone.
Gone.
Like
They've already died.
they
Hmm.
didn't make it, and so she gets there in time for this one little girl and is basically drawing the poison out of
Hmm.
her, because again, she's not Corporalki, right? Like
Mm-mm.
she can't manipulate the girl's body, but what she's trying to do is pull that heavy metal that she can
Mhm.
manipulate out of
Mhm.
her body. And she basically absorbs too
Mhm.
much of it
Yeah.
and
Ends up falling sick and
dying.
dying. And so you can kind of see also where Combs' anger or distrust for those powers comes from on top of it. Like he was already worried about it being harmful towards his wife and the protection of her. But then when it leads to her death, I think it instills even more fear in him about what could happen with his son as well.
Because his wife would help so many people and people would come to ask for her help, he's like, if people know about your power, they're going to do the same thing and the
Mhm.
same thing could happen to you.
Mhm.
Because when we see these flashbacks, the Zoa are not, or Zawa are not persecuted in
Mm-mm.
Novi Zem.
Mm-mm.
They're actually very cherished.
Mhm.
And so it's not the stigma where they live. Like it's not, people aren't going to try to hunt them down or discriminate against them. They're actually taught that these are gifts and you should use them and they're very valuable. Um, the gifts, obviously, they're not like selling people, but I think after seeing her pass, using her power, he's like,
Mhm.
I'm not going to let that happen to you, which
Mhm.
I feel like is a trope we see in lots of stories where one parent is
Yeah.
lost and the other one is left. They want
Mhm.
to protect the child.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
um, but at the end of this, Jesper mentions a balm
Mhm.
that the Zemini make from the stalk of the yurta plant.
Mhm.
The leaves are what people take like for the drug,
Mhm.
but the stalks they use to create a balm to kind of counteract the effects, especially with children being out in the field. They counteracts the effects of the blooms,
Mhm.
and he kind of mentions this, and Kue perks up and is like,
Mhm.
"Wait a second." And so then you start thinking maybe this is
Mhm.
the thing, the key that will get to the
Yeah.
antidote.
Yeah. And as that spark of realization is going about, um, all of a sudden we're seeing like the very start of an ambush.
Yeah, of
But
course.
and remember, it's just Matthias, Jesper, and Kue.
Mhm.
So they're being ambushed. The chapter ends, and well, the
And the
part
part
ends.
ends.
And so it's just kind of one of those moments where like a movie would like cut to black.
A TV show,
Yes.
cut to black, and you're like, "Oh, great, I gotta wait a week."
Yes.
Um, so now we finally have a Neж back, and we have a plan to destroying Vanek. We finally
Mhm.
understand like what the plan is, the sugar plan
Mhm.
of destroying the sugar in his silos and
Yes.
then buying sugar in his name
Mhm.
so that it looks like he was playing people. And we find out that Wyland's mother is still alive
Whew.
and has been committed. She's
Mhm.
been in an asylum. Um, and
Van Eyck just keeps on getting uglier and uglier.
and we find out Van Eck tried to kill Wyland.
Mhm.
Couldn't lock him up. He tries to have him killed, and we get kind of the background of how Wyland ended up in the barrel,
Mhm.
and we get also important insights like we just talked about into Jasper's past and his
Mhm.
mom and how she taught him to value his powers, but also
Mhm.
how her powers got her killed.
Yeah.
So we can kind of understand Colm a little bit. We have more complications.
Yes.
The winged shoe are back. We know they're hunting Grisha,
Mhm.
and now they're wanting to evacuate the Grisha from Ketterdam. So we're
Mhm.
adding that onto the plan.
Tweak the plan.
Everyone besides Nina and Kue has a wanted poster somewhere. So people
Mhm.
are looking for them and they are very recognizable. And the plan is about to start.
Mhm.
So they're going their separate ways. Jasper might have the key to the antidote, like I just said.
Fingers crossed.
And I'm think he's also a fabricator.
Mhm.
So I'm like, could he help Kue? Are we gonna
Right.
see that? Like him helping with testing? I
Mhm.
mean, the plan has to happen, so
Mhm.
probably not, but I want to
Probably
know.
not. Do you think they could convince him to go to Ravka to learn more about his powers? That's also up in the air.
It is because Nina was like, "Everybody, let's go."
Yes.
You know, pretty much everybody was like, "Nah, I'm okay." And
Yeah.
Ash is like, "I got a ship
Yep.
thing I want to do." Wyland's like, "I got to take care of my mom." Kaz is
Mhm.
like, "I'm never leaving the city."
Nope.
So I don't know. I
I don't
think
know.
it would be a good opportunity for him, at
Mhm.
least for a little while, especially after hearing about how it can help his health. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? And that brings us to part 4, and I did want to talk a little bit about the title because the
Mhm.
title of part 4 is The Unexpected Visitor. And this is derived from Ineja's father's quote, which
Yes.
indicates fear is coming in this section. So now I'm on
Mhm.
edge, and we all know plan A never works, and
No.
something will always go wrong.
Well, and I don't know about you, but like I had a little twist in my gut when Nina wanted to add or tweak to the plan, getting the Grisha out of Ketterdam as well. My gut kind of went, that's last minute. That's where things could possibly start tumbling and going awry. Because I feel like oftentimes, or at least back in Six of Crows, when they had to change the plan, I mean, we didn't get to see them try the first plan, but because we saw them change the plan, then things blew up.
I'm expecting blow ups. I'm
Yes.
expecting blow ups way before we ever get to the Grisha. Like,
Yeah.
so much more has to happen and go well. And we know that the last plan
Uh-huh.
went awry pretty much from the start.
Sure did. So we see at the start of this that Inej and Nina are together in the warehouse district. And
This is where Inej has to climb the silos, remember?
yes.
And she has to do the high wire between the
Mm,
silos to put the chemical weevil in. And
yes.
Nina's there as basically a lookout
Hmm.
because there's not enough people to use the net.
Yeah. There's not enough people to use the net. Inej doesn't want to use the net anyway.
Yeah, I trust her.
I trust her. She's trained. And um, she, so um, Nina is on like the ground area, kind of signaling for when she can go up a silo because of like the way the guards are moving throughout this area. So we see Inej get to the top and be able to put one of the weevils in through one of the hatches
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. And while she's doing this, we are getting flashbacks,
Yes.
some Inej flashbacks of her learning the high wire, which
Mm-hmm.
I really loved because, I feel like her flashbacks to the time with her family and with, the other Suli people they always feel more warm and
Mm-hmm.
like they're happier memories and
Yeah.
everything. Um, and you kind of get this perspective that she learned kind of quicker and was more daring when it came to learning the high wire.
She sounds like they didn't really want her to learn the high wire, and come hell or high water,
She
she
was,
was going to get on that wire, and she's a natural at it.
mm-hmm.
Like, she waits until they've left this one high wire up and everybody goes to do something. I can't remember what it
Mm-hmm.
is. But
Mm-hmm.
she trots on up there and she's halfway across this wire by the time her
Yep.
family's coming back, and they none of them move. They're just like staring at her, scared
Mm-hmm.
out of their mind. And she's just
She's
I
fine.
mean, she I think takes one misstep, but then she's
Mm-hmm.
fine after
Yep.
that. And you can tell that she was made for this,
Yeah.
and I love seeing her in her element with her family, like in how
Mm-hmm.
she grew in confidence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The other flashbacks were not so happy.
Yeah.
And we got hints that we were possibly going to learn a little bit more about her time at the menagerie. And
Mhm.
this is where we do.
Yeah.
And at this point, we kind of see her going from silo 1 to 2 and 2 to 3. So she's still making her way across when she's having these flashbacks of
Mhm.
the very awful memories that she has of her times at the menagerie.
Because we don't get a lot about her time at the menagerie until this point. I feel
Mhm.
like we understand that she was taken advantage of, and we understand that bad things happen, but they
Mhm.
don't explicitly talk about her being assaulted.
Mm-mm.
And and it's not graphic on page,
Mm-mm. No.
obviously. But she does say that like men come,
Mhm.
and so you get the understanding that she has been assaulted. And there's one man that stands out to her because he comes and says he saw her perform as a child. This gave me the
Mhm.
biggest ick I've ever
Yes. Ugh.
felt. And that just makes it even more disgusting, and still like assaults her.
Mhm.
And it was difficult to get through
Mhm.
because we know her as this very confident,
Mhm.
wraith, strong. Don't get me wrong, we've seen her scared before
Yeah.
and how she reacts to Tanta Helene, but we haven't really seen this side of
Yeah, like
her
more vulnerable.
in, like she was very much small in her
Mhm. Mhm.
circumstances and finally finds a way out.
Mhm.
But then while she's having one of these flashbacks,
Mhm.
she gets pushed,
Mhm.
and there's somebody on top of this silo with her.
Yep.
What what the hell? Like,
Yeah. Like
um
out of nowhere.
mhm.
Like what?
So we knew it was going to go right quickly. Here we are, first
I
chapter.
wasn't expecting that quickly.
I wasn't either. One thing also I wanted to note is that as they pull up on their boat
Uh-huh.
to the district,
Uh-huh.
they point out a Reaper's barge.
Yes, they do.
And I wrote a note down here: seeing and noting the Reaper's barge and the dead seems pointed due to Nita's new power. And
Yes.
I was like,
Mhm.
this is going to play a
Mhm.
part in whatever goes
Mhm.
on here.
Yeah. Well, and Nina even asked because she's like, why don't, these people get buried anymore? And it's because they have the fear of the plague.
Mm-hmm.
Um a fear of contagion continued to spread, and so there hasn't been a burial since the Queen's plague.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's just shipped off. All the dead bodies are shipped off.
And burned, I think,
Yes.
on the
Cremated.
barges. Yeah, so they can't spread the contagion
Mhm.
anymore. So it's understandable.
Yes.
So then we flip into Kaz's perspective,
Mhm.
and he is obviously not with Inej. And if something feels too easy,
Yes.
it probably is.
Yes.
Kaz, we see him like having to trust everybody to do
Mhm.
their jobs, and he seems like he does not want to do that
No.
right now. And he's kind of thinking through their jobs. He'd rather do it all himself, but he is with Wylan to go
Mhm.
crack the safe, right?
Right,
They
at
have
Van X.
they have to go to Van Eck's house and crack the safe to get the seal,
Mhm.
to forge the letter, to get the Grisha out, like
Yes.
all of these things. And so we see him and Wylan at the safe, and
Mhm.
he is awed by the safe. So
Yep.
you know that how good it is,
Yep.
how intense it is,
Mhm.
because if he is in awe of it
Mhm.
as a not necessarily safe cracker, but lock picker,
Yes.
it's got to be a great one.
Yeah, it sure does.
But we see Wylan use the acid, and it works
Mhm.
great. They
Mhm.
find the seal,
Mhm.
and I really love Kaz's sentiments to Wylan about his disability.
I wrote part of it down.
Go ahead.
Um, I wrote down because they're talking about weakness.
Mm-hmm.
And Kaz says to Wylan, "You're weak because you're afraid of people seeing your weakness. You're letting shame decide who you are." And that one, like, really kind of like struck me in the heart a little bit because Van Eck has definitely made him feel shameful for his
Mm-hmm.
disability when it's definitely something that if he were nurtured and taught in the right way, like
Mm-hmm.
given the right um, uh, interventions, then he could 100% find a way
Yeah.
to live with that disability, to
Mhm.
overcome, and to have the ability to read. It's just going to be in a different capacity
Mhm.
and everything. It's not going to be able to, look at the page the way that you or I or another person does. It's just going to be different.
Mhm.
And so he's been basically told but not told, but then also he's heard his father's words about his ineptitude,
Mhm.
and he's allowed that to shape who he is as a person. And
Mhm.
that's just heartbreaking to me.
So there are two other things I had highlighted in here around that. Kaz is talking to him while he's picking, or while he's doing the acid,
Mm-hmm.
and Kaz says, "When people see a cripple walking down the street
Mm,
leaning on his cane, what do they feel?" And follows that up with, "They feel pity. Now, what do they think when they see me coming?"
mm,
And it's definitely not pity.
mm,
And then after he says what Mandy just pointed out, he says, "Think on it, Wylan." Kaz said as he straightened the frame. "It's shame that lines my pockets, shame that builds the barrel teeming with fools ready to put on a mask just so they can have what they want, with no one the wiser for it.
mm-hmm,
We can endure all kinds of pain. It's shame that eats men whole.
mm-hmm,
So don't be ashamed of
mm-hmm.
your weaknesses, embrace them because
Yeah.
the shame will eat you alive."
Yes.
And I love how he frames that for him, um, to try to take your potential
Mm-hmm.
weaknesses and turn them into power,
Yeah.
because I feel like he does the same thing with Inej at a
Mm-hmm.
different point. And
Yeah.
I just love that he says that,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe Wylan can
Mm-hmm.
take something from that.
Yeah. And it's during this wonderful moment between the two of
Hmm.
them that they are snuck up upon by the Dime Lions.
Another
Moment.
basically.
Yes.
And I wrote down, of course, it's Pekka.
Yes.
Pekka is always there to just be the
And
thorn in the
Kaz's
side.
side. Yeah. And of course, we cut to black and we're now going back to Jesper, Matthias and Kue through Matthias's
Mhm.
perspective.
Which they were being ambushed.
Yep.
So we're back to everybody's got a problem. And
Everybody.
we knew.
We knew what's gonna
So
happen.
there's somebody on the silo
Yep.
with Inej.
Mm-hmm.
They just got ambushed by Pekka and
Mm-hmm.
his couple of his gang members.
Yep.
And we're back with the boys in the tomb,
Yep.
waiting to see who is attacking them. I think we can guess now.
It's the Dime Lions.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so, using some of Wyland's leftover supplies, and well, I mean, Matthias goes into like Fearden mode here.
Oh yeah, he's soldier battle
Yes.
plan type of, because Kuwei's like, I don't know what the hell to
Yeah.
do.
Scared.
Jasper is like, oh, I don't think I can shoot my, like I can shoot some, but there's how do
I
we get
can't shoot my
out?
way out of this
Yeah.
kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. And so, like, you almost see him go into like commander mode.
He
And this is
does.
one of those moments where I was like, if Matthias's path had not led him the way it did, I'm glad that it did.
Mm-hmm.
But if it hadn't, I could have seen him climbing the ranks pretty quickly.
You can tell from some of the flashbacks that was
Yes.
the intention. That was
Yes.
Jarl Broom's intention,
Yes.
was to take this big kid
Mm-hmm.
who's an orphan and it has rage against Grisha because his family was
Mm-hmm.
killed by Inferni, remember?
Mm-hmm.
And basically groom him
Yeah.
to be some type of general, like
Mm-hmm.
big force,
Yeah.
know?
So he starts kind of leading his little pack here, using Wyland's leftover supplies.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, he's a demolitions expert, so fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then combining Jesper and Kui's Grisha powers to create this like misty, ghosty distraction,
Mm-hmm.
um, so that they can have an escape route. I thought was brilliant. Maybe one of my favorite parts of the book, to be honest with you.
It's so good. So he's done that. He's
Mm-hmm.
told them how to use their powers. Mind you,
Yeah.
they're the Grisha, right? They're the Grisha here. And getting his thoughts
Yes.
about this, I
Mm-hmm.
highlighted the paragraph here, is so interesting.
Yes.
And Jesper says to him, "You do realize you just led your own little Grisha army."
Yeah.
And then we start hearing his thoughts. He had an
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable thought. Through Jesper and Kue, he had wielded Grisha power, and
Mm-hmm.
yet Matthias did not feel tainted or somehow marked by it. He remembered that what Nina had said about the construction of the ice court, that it must be the work of Grisha and not the work of Gel.
Mm-hmm.
What if both things are true? What if Gel worked through these people?
Yeah.
Unnatural. The word had come to him so easily, a way to dismiss what he did not understand, to make Nina and her kind less than human.
Mm-hmm.
But what if behind the righteousness that drove the Druskella, there was something less clean or justified? What if it wasn't even fear or anger, but simply envy? What did it mean to aspire to serve Gel only to see his power in the gifts of another, to know you could never possess those gifts yourself?
Mm-hmm.
And so he's obviously, I mean, we know he's been taking steps
Yeah.
for a long time and kind of deconstructing his
Mm-hmm.
religion, but to see him lead them in
Mm-hmm.
that way and then think to himself, well, I don't feel tainted.
Right.
And in fact, half of our religious building was built by Grisha, and
Yeah.
maybe these divine powers are from Gel.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that we get that tr- uh, thought
Yeah.
train
Yeah.
of thought from him. And then they use Kue's powers
Go ahead. Keep going.
to basically evaporate a
Yeah.
path through the canal so
Yes.
that they can get out, which I found
I thought
hysterical.
it was great. I thought it was absolutely great. I was like, this is one of the most amazing escape plans I have ever
Mm-hmm.
seen written in a book.
Mm-hmm. It was
Fabulous.
just like we were kind of things were falling together, using the different powders, lighting them up in the right way.
Uh-huh.
If And then he made like the fire catch on the tree.
Yep.
It was so good. And they used not only the powers and the supplies, but the ambiance and the mythos of the island
Yes.
that they were on. It really was. You were right. It was one of the absolute best
It really was.
escapes in this entire series, I
Yes,
think.
it was. It definitely was. And so we see them escaping. Thank
Mm-hmm.
goodness. Okay. At least part of our ragtag crew seems to be on their way to safety
For now,
for now, we think. And we're flipped back to Inej.
thank God.
Thank God. And
Because she was falling.
she was falling. And we are addressed by an unexpected visitor here as well.
Mm-hmm.
We meet Dunyasha, the White Blade. Yeah.
Okay.
Who?
Is
What?
that, did you give yourself that name, girl? Okay.
Yeah. She is an assassin that has been hired by Pekka Rollins.
Shocker, right?
Mm.
It's going to be Pekka everywhere. We know he was the one that interrupted Kaz. We
Mm-hmm.
know it was the Dime Lines, the
Yep.
detective. Of course, she's from Pekka.
Well, and also, if Pekka is at Van X interrupting Kaz and Wylan, you know that Van Eck and Pekka are in this together now. You have to
Oh,
make that
yeah. He's
connection.
in his house. It's
Like,
not like he snuck in there, you know?
yeah. So now we're seeing this knife fight
Mm-hmm.
happening on the roof, and she is good. Like, and I say that as she's fighting Inej the Wraith,
Mm-hmm.
because she's, I mean, yes, Inej is tired. She just came out of being kidnapped and not being well fed. She needs to be resting and
Mm-hmm.
all of that. But she's doing better in this fight than Inej is.
And she straight up seems like a sociopath. She is
Uh-huh.
enjoying this. She's cackling. She has
Mm-hmm.
no fear. She's throwing basically ninja stars. And
Yes.
Inej is getting shredded.
Mm-hmm.
This is not going well for her
Mm-mm.
at
So
all.
Inej tries to go across her high wire.
As a last resort, because she's trying to get away from her.
Uh-huh. And Dunyasha is able to follow her on the high wire.
Which is why I'm saying she has no fear. She just gets on there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I seriously think this girl is a sociopath.
She is. I mean, she even says at one point, and it's kind of weird because she talks in like, I don't know, group,
Yeah,
third person.
she's weird.
Our work is death and it is holy.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Um,
You know who that reminds me
tell me.
of? Mia Corveri from Nevernight.
Yes.
That very much sounds like the church,
It
the Red Church.
it does.
Anyway, that was a
Anyway,
side note.
side note. Um, but we see Inej failing at this fight.
It's
She's got a ninja star in, I think, in her calf, maybe one
mhm.
on her thigh, a shoulder. I mean,
She's cut up.
she's cut up. But we don't get to see the end of this fight because
She's at the uh, when we cut back,
yes,
she's falling off the wire.
that's what it is. You're right.
And we're like, wait a second, that's splat.
Yeah, because there's nobody there with the net. You're absolutely right. Yep, that is how we end that chapter where she's falling into air.
Because what's her face? Dunyasha cuts the wire.
Mm-hmm.
She cuts it, it goes slack, and so she's falling with the
Yeah.
wire. It's not that she falls off of it,
Yeah.
it's that she cuts the
Yep.
wire. And so we're like, what do you mean you're stopping here?
Mm-hmm. Not Inej.
And then we cut to Cass.
We cut to Kaz. And I imagine too, like Pekka being like at a like ornate desk, giving him a talking to, kind of like a principal.
See, I pictured them like in the back corner and that they like flip the lights on and
Yeah.
we're like, we're here, you know? But because I guess I figured the frame was behind the desk. But yeah, I pictured they were doing this in the dark, you know? And then
Mm-hmm.
Pekka flips the light on, is like, gotcha, you know?
Yes.
Oh, like a cartoon villain.
Yeah. And so we find out that Pekka Rollins had approached Van Eck prior to Alice's kidnap, and he had been turned down.
Yes.
And it wasn't until Alice was taken that he took Pekka up on
He could
his
convince him,
yeah.
yeah.
And Kaz is kind of like, well, dude, like you do realize that like he swindled me out of money, like you're not gonna get paid anyway, like either. And Pekka's like, no, I got paid up front.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know how to work this way better than you, and I am using the money that I earned to continue expanding my territory.
And they're talking about like how they got swindled.
Mm-hmm.
And Pekka says, you take things too personally, Brecker. You should be focused on the job, but you're too busy holding a grudge." And I loved this quote from Kaz. He says, "That's where you're wrong. I don't hold a grudge. I cradle it. I coddle it. I feed it fine cuts of meat and send it to the best schools. I nurture my grudges, Rollins." And I love that,
Yeah.
especially because we know who he's saying it to
Mm-hmm.
and all of the things he has done
Yep.
to try to take him down. I just love that.
Yes. Yeah.
And then Pekka, as villains do, they monologue, right?
Yep.
And we basically find out that he likens himself Vanek's equal.
Yeah.
He thinks they're both businessmen
Mm-hmm.
and he's going to have just as much power as him and he's just as smart as him.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I doubt Vanek would agree with that.
Yeah. He goes on here too about like how, well, I'm working to leave myself a legacy, just like Van Eck.
Right? And so we see this complication and Kaz is crazy.
Uh-huh.
Crazy as hell. And so he takes the acid and burns a hole in the floor.
Yep.
They land on Van Eck's dining room table. Him and Wyland
Yep.
land on the dining room table.
Yep.
And there's like this moment of like, oh my God. And then they run out and realize that if Pekka's here,
Yep.
that means they're probably everywhere.
Yeah.
And who can we get to help?
Well, and here's the other thing too, is that in that monologue, Pekka had said to him that he had something special planned for Inej.
Mm-hmm. And so, of course, it's Kaz and Wyland.
Mm-hmm.
Wyland wants to go to Jesper.
Yep.
And Kaz is like, nope, we're going to Inej.
Inej.
Because he sounds like he is really after her.
Right.
And like she would be in more trouble. So they ultimately decide to head towards Sweet Reef, where Nina and Inej are, because it sounds like he is Pekka has something scary for
Mhm.
Inej, and so they might be in more trouble.
Right.
Whereas Matthias and Jesper have been in enough scrapes, enough fights
Yeah.
that he being Kaz, feels like they have a better chance of getting themselves out. Whereas the girls, not because they're girls, but
Mhm.
because there's just so much risk. She's up so high.
Mhm.
Nina isn't at her best, that
Mhm.
they're the ones that need more help.
Yeah. And we flip not to Inej's perspective, but Nina's perspective.
Thank God. I've been like,
Yeah.
what is going on with her? We've had like what, 2 Inej chapters,
Yeah, not a
and
lot.
I'm like, what? Where is this other girl? She's supposed to be here. And I
Mhm.
know she doesn't just sit around and she does not play about Inej.
No. No, she does not. And so we kind of get a little bit further back. You see her as she's um like prompting an edge
Mm-hmm.
to be able to like climb the silo, and she's watching her go across. She's having she's spotting the guards, and she
Mm-hmm.
sees Van X seal on the guards, and or not Van X seal, Pekka Rollins' seal.
The dime lions. She sees
Yeah.
the the lion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And is starting to put things together and realize it's like, oh wait, maybe we're not smooth sailing as I thought we were.
Yeah, because like there's like a small group of dime lions that go to the guard station, and the
Yes.
guard is kind of alerted. He's like, "Stop where you are," and he
Mm-hmm.
gives him some type of paper,
Yes.
and the guard stands down, and
Mm-hmm.
that's when she's like, "Oh, yeah,
Oh, yep.
mm-hmm,
Yeah. And so the Dime Lions are fully aware that they are there and like
mm-hmm,
call for her by name.
yes,
And like my heart, like I already knew they were in trouble, right? Like I've already seen
mm-hmm,
Inej's perspective, but my heart sank into my stomach at this moment because I was like,
mm-hmm,
oh my gosh, they know so much of this plan.
yeah,
And so we kind of see her like trying to scramble to protect herself from the Dime Lions, but then she realizes that Inej is fighting somebody up on top of the silos. She even makes a comment in her head. She's like, who in the world wears white to a knife fight?
yeah." Mm.
Again,
Someone who's confident that they are not going to get cut.
right. Yeah.
And there's like this younger boy that's
Uh-huh.
like leading the Dime Lions, and he seems like a cocky little asshole.
He sure
I
does.
literally wrote down, this little kid from the Dime Lions is bold. He needs to get smacked down. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and then Nina, she's like, "Oh God, what do I do?" Her
Mm-hmm.
main weapon
It's
is
her
her power,
powers.
and she doesn't have them. And so she's like, "Well, maybe I can bluff this."
Uh-huh.
And this girl can bluff with the best.
She sure
That is
can.
her job, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can't bluff not
Mm-mm.
being able to
Actually
like
use
do
them.
the heart render thing. And so she tries it, and it doesn't. She
Go to
gets them at
plan.
first. She
Yeah.
gets them at first, but
Mm-hmm.
then they're like, "Wait a second,
Nothing's happening.
nothing's happening, and I'm getting closer to you." And so then they kind of like rush her, and
Mm-hmm.
she we knew they pointed that boat out for a reason,
Yeah, they
okay?
sure did.
She raises the dead off that boat.
She sure does.
And they are not in great shape either.
No, they're not. But you know what? They
They
do the
work.
job because they're able to help defend with the Dime Lions, and then she's able to send them all over to the net
Mm-hmm.
because it was stated that they needed what, like 6 or 7 people to like work the net.
I can't remember but I knew it was
It was a
more than
lot.
one. It
It was a
was
lot.
definitely a bunch.
And so she then uses the corpses as well to get the net out and catch an edge. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like in a movie scene, you'd be like, "Do-do-do-do-do-do," and you're like, whoa, how'd that all happen?
Mm-hmm. And then you'd have the flashback
And then
of
you have,
like,
yes, yes, the slow
um,
motion flashback.
but I'm thinking using the zombies is almost as clever as Matthias's plan. Not
Almost.
quite, but it worked
Uh
so
huh.
well, and it scared the crap out of those dime
It
lions.
sure did.
And like and then Kaz and Wyland show up after everything's done.
Yep, they were fine the whole time. It's good. We're good.
But they've only gotten the Weevil into a couple of the silos, and
Mm-hmm.
Inej is shredded.
Yeah.
Like she cannot
Mm-mm.
she can't climb back up there to try to
Mm-mm.
finish the job.
Mm-mm.
But Kaz, Wylan, and Nina and Inej are all back together at least.
Yes.
At least we have two solid groups,
Mm-hmm.
and then we go back to Wylan.
Yes, we go back to Wyland, and they are in a. I want to say they're in a canal boat,
Yeah.
or walking around both.
No, they're in a boat.
Okay, they're in a canal boat. The four of them are trying to find a place to go underground. They've they got the diamond lions on their back. Um, they can't go back to the Black Veil where they've been hiding out, and Wylan is kind of like looking around, contemplating to himself, and he's thinking. And I wrote down this quote, and it said, he was surrounded by the bravest people he knew, and all of them seemed badly shaken. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
all of this stuff that has happened has, like, unsettled them.
Mm-hmm.
And we are seeing, like, them try to
Mm-hmm.
reset themselves, and it's not going
Yeah.
well yet.
Another thing I thought I like wrote down Wylan's gauge of the danger being Nina not arguing with Kaz
Yeah.
about the Grisha, like totally tracks.
Yeah.
Because Nina will argue anytime.
Mm-hmm.
And when he saw her just like not say anything, he was like, "Oh, this is bad.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Yeah.
bad."
Yeah. And so while they're on the boats here, we get a flashback from in Wyland this time.
Mm-hmm.
You see where he was trying to kind of set himself up in the barrel.
Mm-hmm.
And he was working at a dye house. And he was actually being quite helpful to
Yeah.
the man that was like working the dye house. He's like, if you put this in with the
Seawater.
yeah, if you put the seawater in there with that, like it will eat away, so you're gonna have to do it more often. Like
But it'll raise the
chemicals.
boiling point so that you're not losing as much to evaporation. You'll
Mm-hmm.
have to clean the tanks
Tanks more
more
often. Yep.
because salt corrodes, but it would help. And the guy kind of like brushes him off at
Yeah.
first, but then they start using the seawater.
Yeah.
And then he starts coming to him and saying, "What can you do with this? And
Yeah.
what can you do with that?"
Asking him more and more questions, like,
Mm-hmm.
and we find that Kaz had somehow found out about him. I mean, Kaz knows everything. And Jesper was actually the one that came and recruited him.
Yes.
I love it.
And he turns him down.
He did. Originally, he turned him down
Yeah.
until
He gets home that night. He goes back to
Mhm.
the boarding house that he's staying in, and there's a letter from his dad. And he knows his dad has found
Yep.
him and knows that he's not dead.
Yep.
And so he's like, shit, I
Yep.
need some type of protection, and signs
And
up.
signs up. And that's how we got Wylan.
And he gives him his mother's maiden name. He says his name is Wylan Hendricks.
Hendricks. Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Kaz knows it's not,
Yeah.
but another, I did write down a quote from him. Kaz didn't care if he could read. Kaz and the others
Mm-hmm.
teased him, but they'd given him a chance to prove himself.
Mm-hmm.
They valued the things he could do instead of punishing him for the things he couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
I love honestly that we get Wyland's perspective in this book.
Yeah.
I feel like it adds so much.
Yeah.
And like seeing like his perspective really pushes that
Mm-hmm.
found family feel even
Yeah.
more because he talks about how much it means to him to be accepted by
Yeah.
this group of people and to have friends.
Mm-hmm.
And like it even makes me tear up. Like I just feel so bad for Wyland, but
Yeah.
so happy that he found people
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
accept him for who he is.
Yeah. Well, and then thank goodness Kaz reunites everybody because Jesper and Matthias and Kue have made it to where
The
home
hotel
is at the hotel. So they're in Jesper's dad's hotel room.
Mhm.
Everyone is back together. And another one of those introspective
Mm.
moments where, Wyland's looking around. And I wrote this one down. They were his first friends, his only friends. And Wyland knew that even if he had his pick of 1,000 companions, these would have been the people he chose.
Yeah.
Good old Wyland. And of course, what do they order?
Waffles.
Waffles!
This is something I think I wanted to point out before, and I keep forgetting to. So I did a little bit more research, and actually, Kirch and Ketterdam are supposed to be modeled after, like the Dutch.
Mm-hmm.
And especially like when they were doing big like Dutch trading.
Mhm.
And so it makes sense that there is an obsession with
With
waffles.
Yeah, so we get to see them kind of like catching each other up on everything that's been going on between the difference.
Mhm.
And so Inej was like, "Yeah, I made a new acquaintance." Nina goes, "Inej fell 20 stories." Wyland goes, "There's a serious hole in my father's dining room ceiling."
Mhm.
Inej it goes, "And Nina can raise the dead."
Mhm.
Just, just little tidbits, no biggie.
Yeah, it's
Nothing
fine.
huge happened.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So they're catching up. They have a whole discussion about Nina's new ability, and they're like,
Yes.
"You can do what now?"
Uh-huh.
She's like, "We had some inklings, but
Um,
totally had some zombies."
yep, we had some zombies. And then I can't remember if it's Wyland or if it's Jesper. I can't remember who says it. But somebody asked, like, aren't the Corporalki known as the Order of the Living
Mhm. And
and the
dead.
Dead? So it's like maybe this Param just brought out the other part of her power that she
Mhm.
wasn't accessing. I don't know. Just a thought.
Mhm. No, I totally agree with that. And during most of this, Kaz is like at the window
Uh-huh.
watching the streets, and then a commotion starts.
Mhm.
And what we see is all of the barrel gangs are like
Yeah.
parading down the street in front of the hotel towards the town square, being
Mhm.
led by the Dime Lions.
Yep.
And so you see them all, the Dime Lions, the Razor Gulls, the Black Tips, one after another.
Yep.
And they've been deputized by the Stadwatch.
Yep.
But what is the kicker is that the crows are there, the
Yep.
dregs are there.
The dregs are
They're the
there.
last ones,
Mhm.
and they know.
Mhm.
Like, this means that the dregs are no longer
Mhm.
loyal to Kaz, or at
Yep.
least that's what this looks
Looks
like.
like, yeah. And any person that has been deputized, you can recognize them because they're wearing a purple armband. So
Mm-hmm.
that kind of signifies them as well. And we see as they're all like marching through that they're sealing off the city, like
Mm-hmm.
narrowing down the path and definitely looking for our ragtag team.
So the crew is trapped, and it's a matter of time before they're found. And Kue tries to step up,
Yep.
and he tries to say, "Well, just turn me in, just give me
Mhm.
to Van Eck."
Mhm.
And it's too late for that. They're like, "That's
Mhm.
never going to work.
No.
We're already in too deep. Giving you away
Mm-mm.
is not going to help matters."
No.
And Kaz then says he'll go down there and turn himself
Yeah.
in. And Jesper tries to talk him out of it, but
Uh-huh.
and they get in a fist fight.
Yes.
Mind you, I think they're actually not at the window. They go up to the
The
clock
clock
tower,
tower.
and
Yes.
so they get in a fist fight.
Mhm.
And Colm comes to break them up.
Yes. But before Colm comes to break them up, Kaz slips and calls Jesper Jordy.
Oh yeah, and he's like, "Who?
Yeah,
Jordy?"
everybody's like, "What?" And I think the best part of this fist fight, though, is that Kaz and Jesper are going at it, and everybody's just like standing there. Wyland's like,
Isn't
is anybody
anybody
going to
gonna
break
do
this up?
anything?
And everybody's kind of like,
Jesper's not using his
nah.
guns, and Kaz isn't using his cane. They're really not trying to hurt each other that bad. It's fine. We'll just
It's
let them work it out.
yeah. And then and then Colm comes up the stairs.
Straight up dad yells at them,
First, middle, and last name of Jesper.
and everybody's like, Llewellyn.
Llewellyn? And stops a fight dead in its tracks by using full on dad move.
Yeah, they both get up, and he's like, "You guys figure it out. Get back downstairs."
Yeah,
Basically.
like you've got 3 minutes to get
Yeah.
downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's just such a dad move, and none of them again
Yeah.
have dads except for Jesper.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kaz comes up with a new plan. Again, it's like scheming face.
Yes.
And he comes up with a new plan, and basically that plan is to auction off Kue.
Yep.
We don't get details. He just
Nope.
says, "We're going to auction Kue off in the town square." What?
Huh?
What do you mean? And
That's
where does
the
that
end.
leave us? The end of part 4.
Yep. That is the end of part 4 and the end of this section
It is.
of our podcast. But let's wrap it up a little bit.
So the whole plan's gone to shit, and the shit hit the fan quick.
It was
Right?
more like explosively too.
It just there was no hope.
Mm-mm.
There was no hope. And I think it's really interesting that Kaz seems to be able to anticipate everybody else's moves, but
Mhm.
Pekka's like he has a
Mhm.
blind spot
He
there.
does.
And
He very much does.
so we see the whole plan go crazy thanks to Pekka.
Yep.
And Kaz um, is forced to come up with a new plan, but
Mhm.
they all have to regroup first.
Yeah.
And Nej is injured. Mina is struggling with her new
Mhm.
power. Jesper is still kind of like fighting with himself about his
Mhm.
power.
Mhm.
Um,
And trying to keep his dad safe.
exactly. And Wylan is like confused. It feels like half of the time.
But also more angered at his dad because of what he's learned
Hmm.
about his mom.
Yeah, but he's like, I why is everybody happy about bounties and like those like the criminal
Yes.
aspects of it.
Yes.
And they've had a lot of near misses
Yes.
where our planets exploded, some
Mhm.
of us are injured, we're being like corralled in, being penned in. How
Mhm.
are we going to move forward?
Yeah.
And we thought plan A was crazy.
Yep.
Plan B, we know Kaz. It's only going to get crazier from here. And what do they mean,
Auction
auction
Kuwait?
Kuwait? And also, we have two Kuwaits.
We sure do. We sure do still have two Kuwait. So is it going to be the real Kuwait being auctioned, or is it going to be Wylan underneath the face of Kuwait?
Well, Van Eck knows to check now
Yes, he does.
because
This
he
is
knows
true.
there's two of them. So it feels very tenuous. I'm ready for a batshit plan. We
Mhm.
only have two sections
Yes.
left in one episode
Yep.
of this book, and we all know how a fantasy book and how the
Mhm.
last book went in the last two sections. I
Yep.
expect nothing less
Mm-mm.
from this book.
Yep. Yeah. So next episode will be coming out, and we will be covering chapter parts 5 and 6, which is chapters 24 to 45, or just the end of the book. Whew.
And I have a feeling it's going to be a wild ride.
It sure is.
See you then.